penedi saket mo be go kele ala go kele ma harne.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Good afternoon, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. The UN's World Food and Children Agency have warned that more than 600,000 malnourished children in South Sudan's Upper Nile state risk further ailment as treatment supplies run critically low and resupply efforts have been hampered. The South Sudan Urban Water Corporation has increased the price of water, attributing the hike to high cost of production. And the SPLM-IO, led by acting chairperson Oyet Nathaniel, has rejected the SPLM-IG's attempt to alter the structure of the revitalized transitional government of national unity. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Baria Johnson, and now the news in detail. The UN's World Food and Children Agencies have warned that more than 60,000 malnourished children in South Sudan's Upper Nile state risk further ailment as treatment supplies run critically low and resupply efforts have been hampered. Darlington Moses reports.
In a statement to iRadio Newsroom this morning, the World Food Programme and United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund said barges carrying 1,000 metric tons of food and nutrition supplies bound for Upper Nile State were forced to return due to insecurity in mid-April, while almost 3,000 additional metric tons have been on standby along the Nile River and are awaiting delivery as soon as conditions allow. World Food Programme and UNICEF stated that due to security concerns, they are unable to pre-position stock in the insecure areas where health facilities and warehouses are increasingly vulnerable to looting. Ms. Mary Ellen McGrotty, World Food Programme representative in South Sudan, said, and I quote, "Children are already the first to suffer during emergencies. If we cannot get nutrition supply through, we are likely to see escalating malnutrition in areas already at breaking point. This is one of the most food insecure regions in South Sudan. With extremely high rates of malnutrition in these situations, every day makes a difference for a malnourished child in need of life-saving treatment." End quote. The United Nations agencies have relied on the Nile River as the main humanitarian supply corridor into the Upper Nile, where there are over 300,000 children affected by moderate or severe malnutrition in the past year. However, the agency said intensified fighting along the White Nile River has meant no humanitarian supplies have reached the area in almost a month. Without urgent access and resupply of vital assistance, World Food Programme and UNICEF said they expect to exhaust nutrition supplies to treat moderate and severe cases of malnutrition by the end of May. UNICEF's representative, Obia Acheng, said, and I quote, "If this continues, we are in danger of simply running out of supplies in counties across the state by the end of May 2025, with potentially catastrophic results for the youngest, most vulnerable children." End quote. According to the United Nations agencies, almost 2,000 cartons of life-saving nutrition supplies have been looted since the onset of the conflict in Upper Nile State, robbing around 1,900 children of their only chance of treatment and recovery. World Food Programme and UNICEF called for the urgent, safe resumptions of deliveries as children across Upper Nile will face the devastating consequences of the interrupted treatment, reversing hard-won gains in the fight against malnutrition, putting the lives of the youngest and most vulnerable at even greater risk. For iRadio News, I am Darlington Moses reporting.
Thank you, Darlington. The South Sudan Urban Water Corporation has increased the price of water, attributing the hike to high cost of production. Yarpol Cole, the corporation's managing director, explained that the spike is largely driven by the rising cost of electricity and water purification chemicals, both of which are affected by the high exchange rate of the US dollar. Cole emphasized that continuing to sell water at the previous price will lead to operational losses and threaten the sustainability of the water supply system. She spoke to iRadio yesterday.
المشكله شنو؟ انه الكهرباء القروش ما قاعد يتم. انت عارف الدولار لما يزيد احنا قاعدين نشتري كهرباء الا بقروش equivalent الدولار والكيميكال كمان. فلما الدولار يزيد والسعر لسه تحت ما بنقدر نكفي نشغل المحطه. عشان شنو؟ we made that increment, and that increment cannot cover the electricity plus the chemical. So if it cannot cover, we cannot operate.
On March 16th, the official tariff for 6,000 cubic meters of drinking water in Juba was raised from 17,500 to 28,000 South Sudan pounds. The increment was attributed to the worsening economic situation, including hyperinflation and a rising exchange rate. However, as of today, consumers were hit with a further increase imposed not by the government, but by private companies contracted to distribute water. In a letter shared yesterday, the chairperson of the Water Obstruction Company Group revealed that a 30-drum tanker truck that used to sell at 28,000 SSP is now 42,000 SSP. Water tanker truck with capacity of 15 drums that initially sold at 13,000 SSP is now 21,000 SSP, an increase of 8,000 SSP. The increment represents a 50% hike in less than 2 months. Reacting to the sharp water price increment, Edmond Yakani, executive director of SEPO, called on the national government to intervene for the welfare of the citizens.
To react to the sharp increase in the price of the barrel of the water in Juba City, and we know that the sharp increase is due to the sharp increase in the price of the electricity. And why should the electricity be increased too sharp like that? If it's a question of access to hard currency by the people who are providing the electricity, there's a need for the authorities to intervene. My appeal is that the leadership in Juba City and Central Equatorial State and the national level, even including in the economic cluster of the national government under His Excellency Dr. Benjamin Bolmel, who is a chairperson of the cluster, there's a need to review this issue of the sharp increase in the barrel of the water prices due to the increase in the price of electricity, which normal electricity will say because access to hard currency. Why should our access to hard currency create an economical burden to the common citizen? Thank you very much.
The SPLM-IO, led by acting chairperson Oyet Nathaniel, has rejected the SPLM-IG's attempt to alter the structure of the revitalized transitional government of national unity. Oyet issued the statement over the weekend. The self-exiled opposition leader expressed deep concern over what he described as ongoing systematic violations, which he said threatened to derail the implementation of the 2018 peace agreement. He pointed to several key violations, including the removal of governors from Upper Nile and Western Equatorial states, as well as National Minister of Health, all of whom are SPLM-IO members. Oyed also criticized the stripping of powers from the detained Minister of Petroleum Port Kang, with his responsibilities reassigned to Undersecretary Deng Lual. Another violation, according to Oyed, was the dismissal of the commissioners of Twitch County in Warrap State, which he said was done without consultation. In his letter, Oyed stated, and I quote, "The violations by the SPLM-IG and affiliated security forces, which I deem a declaration of war on our part, have led to attacks on SPLM-SPLA-IO controlled areas, all cantonments and training centers. Our members throughout the country continue to face threats, arrest, detention, and persecution. Some have lost their lives and properties." End quote. Oyet warned that the revitalized peace agreement is on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, the interim SPLM-IO chairman welcomed the efforts of the peace guarantors, including the African Union, IGAD, the United Nations, Troika, the European Union, and the Vatican in their attempts to restore peace and stability to the country. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. The Deputy Minister of Information, Communication, Technology and Postal Services says people should not fear elections as this will reflect the competence of politicians when voters support them. David Yawiao described elections as a good game that people should not shy away from. Yawiao, however, cautioned the public against politicians' promises during pre-elections campaigns. According to him, elections determine whether the electorate believe in their leaders and representatives or not. Yawiao made the remarks during the stakeholders validation workshop on media communication strategy for general elections in South Sudan in Juba yesterday.
You should have opportunity to participate so that you can also know whether you are competent enough or not. It is really very good game, so we don't need to take it negatively. And people should not really fear it. We should participate, with all the energy that we can. So that whether you are really competent or not, whether any people like you or not, whether you're going to say something that you're going to do or not. I know the politicians normally create a lot of stories when it comes to that time so that they confuse the voters. But reality always comes to pass. We don't need to shy away. Let us point out the areas of needs and the areas that can really take us forward. And then we can do what they say, credible, free and fair election.
The event, organized by the Media Authority and the National Communication Authority, was held under the theme Unpacking Elections Media Communication Matrix. On Tuesday, the Minister of Information, Michael Makwei, said South Sudan is going for general elections in December 2026 amid renewed political violence in parts of the country. Makwei stated that the government is committed to ensuring conducive environment for the conduct of free, fair and credible elections. South Sudan has never undertaken general elections as an independent country, and polls were scheduled for December 2024 to usher in a democratically elected government and close a chapter of unending transitions. But in September 2024, the transitional government secured 2 more years in power when President Salva Kiir signed Amendment Number 12 to the Transitional Constitution of 2011, extending the country's first ever elections to 2026. The adoption of yet another extension was reportedly reached because most of the critical peace provisions, including security arrangements, permanent constitution making, electoral preparations and other issues that could enable credible elections, remain pending. And finally, the Vice President for Infrastructure Cluster, Tabandengai, arrived in Rumbek Lake State this morning to evaluate the road conditions there. He was received by Lake State Governor in Rumbek Town. The Chair of Infrastructure Cluster is accompanied by the National Minister of Roads and Bridges, Simon Mijok Mijak. Upon reaching Rumbek, the Vice President commended Lake State government for its efforts in maintaining security and stability. According to him, he observed a sense of harmony and peace among the locals who are going about their daily activities. Vice President Tabandengai and his delegation are scheduled to depart for Warrap State later today. The Vice President is expected to extend his trip to Unity State as he has been assigned by President of the Republic to participate in a Catholic Church centenary celebration. The centenary celebration will take place this Sunday. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News, and now to the regional and international news with my colleague Madrama James.
A U.S. judge in Boston ordered a temporary block on the Trump administration plan to deport migrants to Libya, saying it would clearly violate a parole order he made that ensures their right due to process. The order came after 2 U.S. officials told BBC partner CBS News that the U.S. may soon start deporting migrants to Libya as part of its crackdown on immigration. In response to the deportation report, Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid wrote in a statement on X that his country refused to be a destination for the deportation of migrants under any pretext. Elsewhere, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif says Pakistan responded to India's strike by downing Indian jets, a claim Delhi has not confirmed. This was a reply from our side to them, the Pakistani Prime Minister says in an address to the nation. Pakistan says 31 people have been killed and 57 injured by airstrike in Pakistani and Pakistani-administered Kashmir and firing along the line of control. Finally, the US and the UK will announce a deal to reduce tariffs today. Last night, US President Donald Trump said that there will be a big news conference at 10 to announce a major trade deal with a highly respected country. Downing Street says Keir Starmer will provide an update later today.
Thank you, Madrama. And now to the sports news with Lasuba Memo.
Thanks, Barrett Johnson. In the world of sports, Al Hilal pulled off a major upset by defeating league leaders Qatar 2-0 in one of the most thrilling matches of the Premier League so far. The star player Daniel Goum opened the scoring of Al Hilal in the 11th minute of the first half before Akkot sealed Qatar's hopes with a second goal in the 93rd minute. With this win, Al Hilal raised its tally to 31 points, climbing to 7th place in the standings, while Qatar remains at the top despite the defeat. In another match played yesterday evening, Bentiu City secured a dramatic 3-2 win over Salam Awil. As of today's fixtures, Young Stars Turid face Al Melekia, while Al Merit Bentiu hosts Holy Family in a highly anticipated clash. Arsenal's bid to reach the Champions League final ended in failure as they were beaten by Paris Saint-Germain on a night of drama at Parc des Princes. The Gunners' attempt to overturn a 1-0 first leg deficit ran aground on another magnificent display at PSG's goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. The Italian, outstanding in the first leg at Emirates Stadium, delivered a repeat performance with a series of stunning saves to keep Arsenal at bay early on. Partey was the culprit when PSG extended their lead after 72 minutes, losing possession before Achraf Hakimi scored on the turn. Britain's Emma Raducanu and Cameron Norrie won the first round matches at the Italian Open as Kate Bolta failed to progress in Rome. Raducanu, making her first appearance at the tournament after a 3-year absence, had to dig deep to win 7-5, 6-7, 1-7, 6-3 against Australian Maya Joint. That's all in the world of sports. Back to you, Barry Johnson.
Thank you, Lasuba. This is iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. The UN's World Food and Children agencies have warned that more than 60,000 malnourished children in South Sudan's Upper Nile state risk further ailment as treatment supplies run critically low and resupply efforts have been hampered. The South Sudan Urban Water Corporation has increased the price of water, attributing the hike to high cost of production. And the SPLM-IO, led by acting chairperson Oyet Nathaniel, has rejected the SPLM-IG's attempt to alter the structure of the revitalized transitional government of national unity. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page, iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30 p.m. I am Baria Johnson. Thanks for listening.